Check, check, check. Now we're good. Now we're good, right? All right. Live workshop. Music basics, theory. And we're going to review a little bit the plausible or scientifically acceptable general principles or body of principles offered to explain phenomena. Our phenomena here is music. That's what theory is. It's the principles of music, any instrument, something you can actually do away from the instrument, and actually not as hard to learn. It's as simple as some of the basics, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Everything sort of uses these 7 letters of music, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right. Now you can readily see these on the piano, as we said. Piano. The white keys of the piano are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They come in this 2 and 3 black key set. All right, so the white keys of the piano, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We're going to use those. We're going to be covering, I'm hiding behind here. We're going to be covering intervals today. So we're going to really focus on the C major scale to understand where all these intervals come from. Piano is pretty easy, but we're going to use some other things to make it easy. So we're going to focus on the C major scale, which is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All right. I see something on my D there, but that's nothing. That's just a little typo. So that's the white keys of the piano. Now, piano does have it easy. It readily apparent what notes are natural letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The ukulele has a repeating note pattern. Looks like some sort of mondrian. So we will have something easy to use. All the names, sharps and flats, we're going to pretty much deal with all of that today. There's 12 notes. There's notes between these 7 letters. What I did to memorize this was B, C, no notes between B and C, no notes between E and F. So they become these really nice little milestone areas, keystones, or whatever you want to call it, that we can key off of. Every other pair of letters, adjacent pair of letters, A, B has an A sharp, C, D, C sharp between them, D, E, D sharp, F, G, F sharp, and then G goes back to A, G sharp. All right. We had recovered of memorizing things in thirds and fifths and talked about the cycle of fifths and fourths to memorize. So we're going to just dive really into the basics of intervals. Now, intervals are really just the distance between 2 notes. They're simple intervals will span within 1 octave. Compound intervals are above. We're going to deal with those. Chromatic intervals and inverting intervals. All right, so we'll see if this works here. Here is interval. So basically, interval is the distance between 2 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now they can have an interval can have a name and a number indicating the distance. And they can also have the name is the type. They can be major, minor, perfect, diminished, augmented, and we'll cover those. All right. This is a PDF that I have on my website, learningukulele.com. Simple intervals are the intervals that span within 1 octave, an octave being the set of 7 letters, and they just repeat at this next same letter, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A would be the octave. Right? And the compound intervals, they span above an octave. So they're simple diatonic intervals plus an octave. Right, so that's basically what an interval is. You know, they can be played melodically as single notes or harmonically 2 at a time. All right. So again, C major scale. Now on the piano you can play this with the white keys, but here on the ukulele we actually want to get a C major scale under our fingers. Right. So we can use the open position. We only have to deal with 1 possible note with our 4 fingers in the open position that can be duplicated, and that is the E. So we'll do C string 3 open. That's C, that's actually middle C. For the MIDI astute, that's C4. That's what those numbers mean. It's just a computer generated sort of information to indicate the C pitch. C, fret 2, string 3 is D, so C, D, C, D. Now this is where piano is different than the ukulele. Piano just sort of moves horizontally, left to right, higher, lower. The ukulele can move all along a single string, horizontally or vertically. We're going to stay vertically. For single notes, you really look for vertical solutions for playing simple melodies and these intervals. So C, D. Now we have 4 fingers, so I can cover fret 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right? So C, D, we're going to play the E open. E is open, string 2. F, that's the natural half step, E, F. You can see it in the little ukulele chord grid there. Using it as a scale grid at this point. C, D, E, F. Then G, our 3rd finger, string 2, fret 3. G, A, Canadian note open, A. And then B, string 2, excuse me, not string 2, string 1, fret 2. And then C, that's the C major scale, C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. If you're using a solfeggi where you could sing syllables for each letter, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. So snuck into that octave. And then descending, just get this underneath your fingers. All right, I would practice that for a second. I'll cue something up, make sure I have everything right. So, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right now, so we talked about intervals. They could be melodic, and they can be harmonic played together. So that's a note C, middle C, and then that note every good boy does fine is a G. Now, the number part of intervals comes from counting the lines and spaces in music. Why is that not showing up here? Hold on. Checking some. There you go.
It was there.
No, I had to do this stuff. All right, so this number part is determining the interval, the distance between 2 notes indicated as a number. We'll go through the C major scale, comparing every note in the C major scale, the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, to the C starting note. That's the root, right? So C to C doesn't do anything. It's a unison, same note. So that would be 1. That would be a perfect prime, same note. Now perfect, we'll get into where that name part comes. We're going to deal strictly with the numbers right now. So C to C doesn't go anywhere. It's a unison, same note. C to D. Now this is where you count the lines and spaces. The number part of this is a 2. This is a second. Now every interval in a major scale starts out as major. You can have, now the intervals, if the note is in each other's scale, like the C to the D, in a D major scale, there's a C sharp, so they're not in each other's scale. But the reason for perfect is if a note, if they're in each other's major scale, we call it perfect. So otherwise it's major. So intervals in the major scale can only be perfect or major. For a major second, just count 1, 2. Now this we can actually use really hard to play. If you have a low G, you can play them both together, but piano, you can play them both together. So that's a major second. Now, actually, the reason to do these intervals is helps you identify melodic patterns that show up in music and songs, and you can recognize these by ear. So I recognize C, D, major second as just the first 2 notes of a major scale. All right. The next, we're going right up the line. The third, C to E. Now that E is the first note, the only note in the open position that we can play on a different note location. So I want to jump back to the uke scale, and you see that E grayed out on string 3 is available at fret 4 also. That's the exact same E as string 2 open. Now it sounds slightly different because it's on a shorter string now. It sounds different on my uke because I have a steel string, sort of a polished wound string on string 3 versus the open string. So stop strings, they call these. They do sound slightly different than the open strings. So you can play the E on string. Now you decide where you want to play it, but if I was playing these both together, I could not play them both on the same string. So C, E, do, a, D, ba, 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 do, a, D, do, a, D. So we use songs to recognize a lot of these. But now back to the intervals. Now a fourth, that's the first space on the music staff, C to F. So the spaces are F, A, C, E. We count each line in space, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the interval of a fourth. Now the fourth is a perfect interval because F, there is a C in an F major scale, and there's naturally, you can see it here, an F in the C major scale. So that's why we would call it perfect versus major. Remember, every interval in a major scale starts out as major, and if it's in each other's major scale, it's perfect. So that's where perfect comes from. Not that it's better, not that it's always going to be right. So C to F. So C, F, C, F. Now, when dealing with intervals, if you're two approaches to understanding them. One, the number, I mean, one for hearing them is passively, we can recognize it. Now I'll use Here Comes the Bride for that one. Here comes the bride, ba, ba, ba. So what you do is you pick famous melodies, and I have a list on my website, learningukulele.com. Was it the most comprehensive ukulele site on the internet? That's funny. Hashtag most.
Hashtag,
yeah. Now, perfect fourth. You'll hear with chords too. When C goes to an F, that's navigating a perfect fourth. Now, a little side note, intervals within a scale, we would call them scale intervals, and just generically, they would be called, in this case, like a perfect fourth. But the letter will be adjusted to match the scale, right? Like if we were doing C to F sharp in a G major scale, that would be a scale perfect fourth. Right? We'd have to adjust it. It's not a pure perfect fourth interval sense, but we deal with them scalular, right? A perfect fourth. Count the lines and spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. See the little red numbers? Here Comes the Bride. That's what I use for melodies. So you can recognize it, hear it, or you can actually sing it. Ba, ba. See, that's the vocal training, and which I don't really have. Now, it doesn't stop us from singing, though. But now, perfect fifth, C to G, if we count the lines and the spaces again, and always including the line or space that you're starting on, so you're not off by one of famous programming errors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect fifth. Now, I use a Christmas song for this one, is do you hear, bum, bum. Sounds like a bell, boing, 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 boing. Perfect fifth, C to G. Now we're doing all these in C, but you can do them in any key scale. Just write it on a music staff. So it's actually good to learn to read and write rudimentary level melodies on the treble staff or whatever clef you're reading, and be able to count the lines and spaces. Because you can count the letters if you wrote them in the order of the C, D, E, F, G, you would get a fourth. So you can use it that way too, but the lines and spaces of the music staff is sort of one of the better ways. It's less error proof. So perfect fifth, that's the power 5 chord. Power.
One of our viewers just said, as someone who just spent half an hour checking out the site, I definitely concur that with the statement of comprehensive.
Comprehensive, yes. Thank you very much. Comments. Kelly's manning the comments. So we're up to the perfect fifth. Now I use these also is I will write in a song sheet, especially ones that just only have the words and the chords, is I'll look up what the starting melody is, and I'll write that. up top. So I'll say like a song. Say a song started with the first melody C and went up to G, and it was in the key of C. I would write, starts on the root and ascends a perfect fifth. That helps you. Then usually you would get the right pitch to sing in the same key you're playing in. All right, so it's the active piece. You can hear it and then match it. All right, perfect fifth. So I just use the bell, or do you hear? Again, the learningukulele.com has a page somewhere on a lot of song examples. There's a bunch of them. There's books. I know there's a jazz theory book by Mark Levin that has lots of jazz examples. But I always recommend pick a simple melody, like a nursery rhyme or children's songs that you grew up with that has melodies that you recognize. And you'll recall them fast. All right, perfect fifth. So naturally, we're on to the next is, you're way ahead of me. I'm sure you thought it was going to be a sixth, and it is. Major sixth.
You can count.
Yes. So we had the C to C, which is not C, it's going anywhere. That's the perfect prime or unison, C to C. C to D, major second. C to E, major third. And C to F is a perfect fourth. C to G was a perfect fifth. Now C to A is a major sixth, because in the A major scale, C is sharp. That's why it's not perfect, it stays major. So major sixth. Now, younger people among you like myself, and especially the U.S. where it had a famous TV station, NBC. That was the start of our logo. NB, or my Bonnie lies over the ocean starts with that interval. My Bonnie lies. Usually, if you get that first interval, first three notes of a song, and you can lock into that, you'll be okay. Or like my grandson says, like last night at our campfire, he says, if you like being pitchy, it's 10. I don't know where he comes up with this stuff, but we were definitely pitchy.
Yeah.
So major six. So we only have a couple intervals to go before we have one octave. Major seventh, 7 letters, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. This is a major seventh. Now the major seventh is actually a half step below the root. So it's easy to get that interval, major seventh, half step below the root. Again, that one's hard to play. That will be very dissonant. A major second, major seventh is pretty dissonant. And that actually shows up in a major seventh chord. But luckily it's pretty far away. If that interval in a chord is what we call a minor second, and we'll be going over that also, chord and interval inversions, right? All right, so major seventh. Now again, it's major because in the key of B, there is a C sharp. And finally, for the simple intervals, the octave, the perfect octave, because naturally C is in the C major scale there. It's the same scale. That's why that's perfect. So I guess there's a distinction in each other's when you're in your own scale, and you're perfect. So C to C in octave. Octaves, that's like somewhere. The major seventh, I think, is Maria. Or there's a lot of famous songs. For the major seventh, there's not so many as the seconds and thirds. A lot of melodies are built in seconds and thirds, right? So octave. What you do is you hear is like I'll do D and play a D up here. It's an octave. Now really sometimes will double a melody if you're playing just straight melodies. A famous guitarist that was famous for playing octaves a lot, Wes Montgomery. He was famous for playing octaves. He was the top jazz guitarist in the 60s and stuff. He's so famous with the octaves that if you, as a guitar player, play octaves on any song, they'll compare you to Wes. He's one of the top 3 jazz guitarists they consider all the time. Django Reinhardt, one of them, gypsy jazz guitarist. Charlie Christian, who brought the electric guitar, amplified single notes to the forefront. And then Wes Montgomery. Good reason to have a low G. All right, so that's the simple intervals. Let me shut some of these and run through them again to review, because we went through quite a lot. Hold on. Oh, I turned the group off. Boom, group's back on. So intervals can be melodic or harmonic. All right? Harmonic is basically like if it's 2 notes, it's an interval or a dyad. If it's 3, you can call it a chord. And if we stack notes up, if we did C, G, and we added the E in, C, E, G, we would have an arpeggio, the C major chord. All right, so seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths. Just remember the 4th and the 5th are perfect. All right, and so you might be saying to yourself, how can we use these? Nah. So let's touch on, I don't have slides for them, but we'll touch on the compound intervals. They just go above it. So if I played the C major scale, let me jump back here again. C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C is the 8th. D would be the 9th. E is the 10th. F is the 11th. G is the 12th. And then A is the 13th. And it can keep going theoretically, but it doesn't really pretty much go after that. Everything above the octave would be called compound intervals. Now, as far as ukulele is concerned, the 9th and 2nd are the same letters, D. So as far as chords go, we can consider them the same. But as far as intervals, this is different. 2nd, 9th. All right.
Do you have a chart on your site?
For what?
For intervals to help with songs?
To help with songs?
What did you say?
Well, all these intervals here to help you identify songs.
Where on your site can you find your chart for songs to help find intervals?
I had to find it. I'm sorry. But just go into search on the site. Go into the search and type in ear training. It's under the ear training part. Because basically what you're trying to do, ear training is a bit of an oxymoron when it comes to this stuff. Here, the intervals, because our ear knows this. Like if you play it, I always use this example, silly, but it's a good example. Right? If I played the wrong note in there, you would know. But it does this. It starts on the root. I mean, it doesn't actually start on the root of the song, but the note you start on, you do it 2nd, go up to the 4th. Down to 2nd, go up a 5th, down to 2nd. Octave, that does arpeggio off of the 1 chord. So it's an F, it's in the key of F. Down to major 2nd. So I'm sure you find it. Oops. Yeah, it's in there, ear training. Did you type in ear training?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find it and we'll post it within the description when this goes up on YouTube. All right, there's a bunch somewhere up there. I remember doing them. If not, you can email me and I'll send you the list when I find it. There you go.
Did I find it?
You found it right there. Ascending intervals. It tells you the song. Like, happy birthday.
Oh, okay.
Bum, 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 bum.
Is this for bronze or
Yeah, it's a free one. Yeah, this one's free. Any of these here, you actually don't have to pay for this. But like here's
a register.
Go down again, slide down again. Yeah, we have another computer running. The 5th, perfect 5th. That was C to G. Twinkle, 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 little star. Starts with a 5th. All right, my favorite things. Right, theme from Star Wars, perfect 5th. Then Hey There, Georgie Girl. Hey there, George. I go somewhere else. Georgie Girl.
So you can, for learningukulele.com, you can sign up for your free site, like free or.
That's just that's not one of the lessons. That's just a resource on the site, right? It is it's in Music Basics. Yeah, scroll up. If there's a little bronze. See that bronze?
Yeah, bronze.
Yeah. I actually did gold, silver, and bronze originally for the lessons. If they're like Olympic medals and stuff like that, right? But I've mastered this. But it does help you identifying songs. I don't have a songbook here. Do I?
What's that?
I don't have a songbook here.
A songbook on that lesson?
No, on anything.
Oh, you mean it in the house?
Yeah, I do somewhere. But you can pull up music, sheet music. This is one big drawback I find myself personally, because I'm not a great singer, is that I really rely on the melody. Because if you don't get that first interval of a song when you're singing, you know, unless you're singing with other people that will help key you into the right melody, you know, you actually could sing in one key and play in another key. So those notes really help you. Just once you get started with the right notes, like here's C, E, G. That's an arpeggio. C, E, G. Michael Rowe, Kumbaya, so Kumbaya. Now there's two pieces for training your ears for intervals. One is passive. Somebody will play that interval and you can identify what the interval is. Somebody plays it without looking. Oh, major third. There's resources online also. There's a Good Ear, I think it's good-ear.com. There's an ear training site. Pretty simple. Start with simple intervals. There was a software called Canarian that will play the intervals and you can test yourself. Some people are really good at it. I was never really good at it, I think. I have some students who will just blast through this and they're like better than I was able to do this. All right. So now so identify melodies, how they start, things like that. How to remember melodies, like I did the, like say Twinkle Twinkle, what is that? Or like London Bridge. Like if you know the, see our fingers were like.
There's a.
Like
Right there. Where your boat, twinkle, twinkle.
Yeah.
Stars on
Yep.
TV.
All right, so intervals now. Training your fingers to hear these. That's the big thing. So with this scale, C major scale, if we play the scale, ascending, we're just playing the scale. But if we played C, then it's third E. All right, so C, E, that's a third. Then we play D, it's third. And then E, it's third, G. So I actually hear some song. I always end up doing this. That's some song, but I have no idea what it is. Now you do FA. Now you should continue, but we just do it. We don't have to do the whole octave, so I would stop there versus going B, D, D. All right? So what's nice about ukulele is we end up not having to do a whole octave unless I did it here. Even there. Right? Now, so C, E, D, E. Right? Now I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to play it a couple times. I'm going to do it 3 times. And in a comment, tell me which one was wrong, 1, 2, or 3. Was number 2? All right, that was 3 times, right? So we should get some comments that most of you should have said I played number 2 wrong. What that means too is your ear knows it. Right? We know what the next sequence of notes are going to be within that scale, so if we mess it up, right, we'll know right away. And our fingers are going to be more than happy to go and execute the wrong things. So you can actually sing it to yourself. So that's the ascending third. C, E. Now on the way back, start on the A and go A, C, G, B, F, A, E, G, D, F, C, E. All right?
Did you do this?
Nah.
The songbook? No.
Well, I won't show it. Can't show it.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, you can't stream that, right? So here's a good thing once you get going with this is pull something up like Kelly pulled up the Daily Uke book, and you could jump to any page and you'd be able to figure out over time what the first interval is of a note.
I have it at home.
Yeah, you probably do have it at home if you're sequestered. Like pull up a song on the Daily Uke book. Slow scrolling today.
Yeah,
huh?
I know. I just scroll faster.
Now, here's where more work is entailed to playing this on a stringed instrument like the ukulele, is the E. I could have played the E here.
There you go. Oh, this one.
What's
By
that?
the
By the
light
light
of
of the
the
silvery moon. Once you figure out what the key is, this is the key of G. It starts on a B note. It's the major third, so I would put a capital M3. Then it ascends a major second to this C. So it's a minor second, actually. Right? So right? So I would master this. Now, the reason for playing this is to get the intervals of the scale so that your fingers will listen to your ear. So that's thirds. Usually I'll resolve it at the end because sort of your ear will demand some resolution at the end. And all these intervals don't really give you that resolution you need. Now, a fourth, C, F, D, G, E, B, right? Now C, then G, it would go up. So you do run our room pretty quickly, so, which is nice. It means we actually don't have to do a lot of work. Because connecting the different positions is sort of another topic and another area of study on the ukulele. So you'll run out of room pretty fast. So if I did a fifth, C, G, right, D, A, E, B, F, C, right. Thirds and seconds are good. Now seconds will sound like this. You just end up playing each note twice. So what we do is we invert that interval. So let me see if I can find that. I think I did put some stuff up there. Let's go look at an interval again. All right, let's get an easier interval. Now we'll start with like a third or something like that. All right.
We'll have to keep organized.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Frames and stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, so here's an interval of a major third. Now, let's talk about inversion first, and then we'll talk about chromatic intervals. Inversion is I'm going to take this C to the E, and I'm going to raise the C note one octave, so this becomes E to C. E, C. Now if we play it, C, E, E to C, that's no longer a third, right? Right, so we would count the lines and spaces from E to C, and we would come up with a sixth. Now, when we invert intervals, major intervals become minor intervals, perfect intervals stay perfect, and we haven't covered them yet, but diminished intervals become augmented, and augmented become diminished. So intervals can only be perfect, major, minor, diminished, or augmented. Right? Now, there is no such thing as perfect chords, but the major, minor, augmented, and diminished, they actually apply to the names of triads and basic chords. So the major third inverted becomes a minor sixth. I'm just going to rattle off a bunch. A perfect fifth becomes a perfect fourth. A major sixth becomes a minor third. A major seven becomes a minor second. You might be thinking I'm pretty smart, but a major seventh becomes a minor second. A octave becomes stays an octave. Now, notice when the number ones, seventh became a second, sixth became a third, fifth became a fourth, fourth became a fifth. All those add up to 9. It's called the rule of 9. Any interval you invert. So first you identify the ascending interval, right? And then you would invert it. And whatever the ascending interval's number is, it just subtract it from 9. Right, so let's find another one here. Let me see. I got a lot of stuff here showing on the screen.
We came up with another shirt idea or bumper sticker. I'd be a ukulele virtuoso if only my fingers would catch up.
That's the truth, isn't it? Yeah, and your musical thinking, where you're trying to get your fingers to become elite athletes on the instrument, and our brain, which is lightning fast, to apply to music also. Like if you're ever in a car accident, everybody says this is like everything moved in slow motion, but you couldn't do a darn thing about it.
Yeah.
It's like, darn, if I could react to. So music, we have to get fast, and we have to recall this information quickly. Now, recalling this, like, oh, an interval of a major third is a minor sixth inverted. It helps you because you can identify the ascending intervals pretty easily. They had distinct names and numbers, but descending intervals didn't really. So C to E is a major third. 3 from 9, 6. The major becomes minor, so E to C is a minor sixth. Right? Got that? Rule of 9. There is a series online. You see it somewhere. I put it up here one here. But if you just go to, here's the secret code is EL31.
What? For what?
Ukulele lesson 31.
Oh.
So I actually did these a long time ago when I first did the site. Like the 31st lesson. Now,
key signatures, E major.
What?
Key signatures, E major.
Oh, E major. That E to C.
Is that what you're talking about?
No.
That's series 31.
No. Oh, is it? Try it. Nope. Not the series. Lesson. UL 31. All right, so intervals, yeah, you learn to recognize them. Now, for practicing them again. Now, it can get fancy and tricky, and one of my other books that I used to give it away, I think it's still for free or it's just for members, is practice material for ukulele players or contemporary musicians, stuff like that. It took all these intervals and it wrote them out in music, not in tab. Because that would be written out one particular way. C, E, D to the F. If it was tab, it'd be one numbers, but I could play it. You know? So it's finger training. I used to do this, it happened to me once in a while. Would try to recall a famous melody I could play or something, and I would play the wrong note. And I'd wonder, why am I playing the wrong note? And it comes down to that interval, and your fingers just forgot what to do or didn't know how to execute that interval. And it's different everywhere, because this C... Right, so there's lots of different fingers for them, same intervals of thirds in that C major scale. So that would be in like 4 or 5 different tabs, versus the notes that would just been one set of notes. Go back to this as a little teacher demo, I would call it. Let me see.
Wait, real quick, what was the sites that you referred to for the interval and ear training?
Goodear.com. I think good-ear.com.
Oh, maybe I should look that up before I put it in there.
Make
sure I'm not putting it wrong.
Yeah, it's a good one because you can do simple intervals. There's a Mac program called Canarian. Yep, that's it. It's super simple. It is very basic, but that's what you're looking for. There's no fancy graphics or anything.
What was the other one?
It's a Mac application called Canarian. Allows you to test yourself and stuff like that. Because we can recall melodies just after hearing them just a couple times. It's just getting that, red sweater, software. Yeah, that's it.
Red sweater,
I used to train myself every day on it. Finally got it for a long time, and most of you out there are having an easier time than I did, I think. Is that you do simple intervals. You can even break it down. Some of these tests say, I want to recognize the octave, the fifth. Right. It's hard to do these yourself. You can't test yourself. Okay, I'm going to guess what I'm playing. Well, I know what I played. Somebody else has to play them for you.
It's like,
or an application or software. And there's some apps for Android and for the iPhone and stuff that will test your training. I would recommend fix the do, where the do does not change. That's the root note. Like in this case, it would be C, A, C, A. So you learn to recognize that sixth. So, my money, C, A, C, A, C, A. When you move it to another key, right, it doesn't help. So just do the same key, same root, it helps. So the C major scale, this is where notes here are written on that are just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That could be this too. It could be here too. It could be here too. Or it could be here too. Right? It could be there too. Oh, I was wrong. Did you hear that? So I played that about 7 or 8 different ways. And if that was tabbed out, that'd be 8 different tabs. But note-wise, everything I played was what you see on that screen. Now there was a.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, this is it's only for Mac.
Yeah,
not PC.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Or
There's PC versions, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, weird, huh?
This is a very good one because you can test yourself and you can set the test yourself. So I would sometimes set my test to be this train like the 4th to the 5th because I used to confuse those. Right? That was the 3rd. All right. So let me see. Here, picture in picture. Yep. I did B flat. It's funny, you have to make that connection between your inner musical ear and what you want to play. Otherwise, your fingers, they definitely just go off on their own. So it's all finger training at a certain point. Like famous licks, too. You want to transpose them to different keys, you might say. Like here's an intro. Right? Everybody, brown-eyed girl. Now say you mess that up. I usually mess this way I play it here, this way I play it. I have to shift. A lot of people play it like that. Or some people even play it 2 fingers. Too much work, but I'll do here. Funny, there's a distinction. So here I don't have to shift my thumb at all. Right, and if I'm doing low G, I might remember to play it here, which is the D chord. 6, perfect 5th. You hit on a higher G, I have to do it here. But this part, this up here, I don't have to practice it. All right, that's thirds, interval of thirds. Margaritaville, intervals in thirds. Starts on, I think it's in originals in G, a D, but G works good on ukulele. Starts up a 3rd, starts on the 5th. From the G to the D. Because if you're starting the wrong spot, you end up starting it in the wrong key. So when I had to do these on the guitar. There was lots of different positions, but it was only just do one interval each week. Now, this was ascending thirds. Each interval ascended C, E, D, F, E, G, F, A, G, B, A, C. Right, now you can actually ascend the first interval and descend the second. All right, and if you swing it or make some notes longer or shorter, it sounds like jazz. What's that?
I was looking at the pictures in the back.
We got pictures behind us. Family picture. Daughter's up there, right? One's next to me, but that's Bern with one of her best friends.
Oh yeah, Jan.
Yeah.
There's me.
This is the photo album row.
Sorry, get distracted by 4 o'clock.
These are fun to fool around with. Force. So like sound variation. This is where if you're doing these and the song's in a different key, you have to adjust your interval. I'm doing them in the C major kind of thing, but say it was in the key of F, I'd have to adjust my B to be B flat. So the interval is the same number still, but it's adjusted to fit the scale. Adjusted to fit the scale. Perfect fourth would be this: C, F, D, G, E, F. That would be F sharp. Right? Or F would be B flat. Perfect fourth. But for the C major, you have to adjust it to B. So that's adjusted. Now there's a whole big thing. Some of this stuff you actually end up not really looking things up instead of memorizing so much. That this is sort of just different theoretical knowledge that you can do, but I'm trying to find it. I had a bunch of PDFs up there from the site. Oh, we didn't touch on this. Chromatic intervals. So as the interval is distance between two notes with a name and a type, the chromatic intervals are not taken from a major scale. They are derived from the diatonic intervals. The letter of the note remains the same. You add or remove sharps or flats as needed for the number of steps. So a minor interval is created by lowering the upper note of any major interval 1/2 step. So C to E is a major third. C to E flat would be a minor third. C to E is major, C to E flat's minor, like a blues scale. Starts with a minor third, right? So any major interval lowered 1/2 step is a minor interval. Diminished intervals are created by lowering the upper note of any perfect interval 1/2 step. Right? So that means the perfect fourth would be a diminished fourth. Perfect fifth would be a diminished fifth. Theoretically, the octave would work and the unison, but that's pretty weird. Diminished intervals also can be created by lowering any major interval 1/2 step. That's weird. It's funny. So that means like the D, you could do diminished second and it lowers it all the way to like the root C. That's pretty rare and odd. Augmented intervals are created by raising the upper note of any perfect or major interval 1 step. Most common being the second and the fifth, right? Second or the ninth. This applies to the above the octave also. All right, so augmented, and this is a lesson here. This is you can even type lesson codes in on the website sometimes and do searches. UL31B. This is part of a series. So if you went to series, learningukulele.com/series/series. Just go to the series and type in intervals in the search box. It will show you these series of lessons. Oh, series, funny. There's 3 of them. Yeah, Kelly's doing a search now.
I shared earlier.
Yeah. There's a lot. So you go to series, type in intervals.
There we go.
Yeah, the little search box disappears for a second for some reason. I'm always trying to get lightning fast searches in the site. So Understanding Intervals is called. It was created back in 2003. There's 4 lessons in there. Diatonic intervals are what we're covering here. We just briefly touched chromatic intervals. And then interval inversion. That was the rule of 9. Major becomes minor. Minor becomes major. Augmented becomes diminished. Perfect remains perfect. And then there's a whole thing on practice sequences, cycles. That would be like these thirds, fifths. Any one of the intervals could be a sequence. You know, C to A, D to B. That cycle will continue until you get back to the same root. There's a lot up there. Amazing. Now, improvisation. So how do you use these? What good are intervals? They pretty much are the basic building block of everything that we do in music. And improvisation is based off of scales. Right there, I played the scale up, but I did seconds on the way back. Little third there. Right, they're based off of intervals. Scale run at the end. They're based off arpeggios. C major has a C chord, C, E, G, D minor, D, F, A, E, G, B, E minor, F, A, C, right? G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F. Right? And sequences. Here would be a sequence. I'll do a simple one. All right, 3 note. Ready? All right, here's another sequence. I messed that last one up, but a sequence is just a repeated melodic device repeated off of each scale note. So that was like, that's like Moon River. So that's C to the 5th, down a whole step. My strap. All right, so that'd be a sequence repeated off of each scale note. I just see I struggled with sequences. That's finger training. Right, again, on ukulele, you don't have to go all the way up because you can do the same sequence here. So they become what the improvisation and melodies are. Then you have all kinds of fingering issues. Right? So they have their place. They're everywhere. Melodies. Improvisations. There's a good way I remember Pink Panther. Starts on E minor. Just a... So it's in the key of E, so it does an E minor and then C7. So what's C's relationship to E? You would do the E major scale. E minor, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C, 1, 2, D, 4, 5, 6, the 6th. Right, the key of E, so it's a flat 6 as a 7th chord. Then it does E minor, F7. But it does a E minor chord, chromatic. Last one descends instead of ascending. So scales, intervals, chromaticism. There's 3 of me in this. It's everywhere.
All the screens, yeah.
All right. So I would just start to recognize simple melodies. Take simple songs like I had a book. Took all of our stuff back to the store.
Can you share books is fine or copyright?
Yeah. I'll do one here. I'll do we're using OBS for our software here, so I'll do a search here and type in Red River Valley public domain song. There you go. See if I can share. PDF only. I'll download it. Ooh, didn't show up.
Hit your download.
It went download that fast? Nope.
No. Go back to the browser.
This is where the downloads go. It's set to go there.
Hit that blue arrow.
It didn't go.
And
didn't download.
Open it.
Didn't download. All right. So we'll do this one by ear. So I'm pulling up Red River Valley in the key of G. It starts on a D note. So what's G's and D's relationship in interval? It's G, A, B, C, D. So D is the 5th. Right? So it starts on the perfect 5th for a G major scale. Then it ascends to the G. So what's G's relationship to D? D, E, F, G. That's a perfect 4th. So it starts on the perfect 5th, goes up a perfect 5th. And then it goes to B. G to B is a major 3rd. Now you can also then say, another little tip to remember this, well, geez, that is a G chord. Right? And you would analyze each interval, then it does a scale down, B, A, G, so D, D. Then back. There, now G to E in the song. Now that was descending, G to E. So you would raise the E, and which relationship of G to E is a 6th, a major 6, G to E. So descending, it's a minor 3rd. So down a minor 3rd, G to E. And then back to G. So now you learn the song just by playing it in one position. And train your fingers to play those, but getting that starting interval. Like earlier, I tried to figure out the London what. All right, so that started on, I don't even know what key I'm in, but I would have to write down what it starts on. So it's in C, I guess. It starts on the perfect 5th. Usually that last note. So I fought playing F. My finger wanted to play F. Like my finger, I wanted to play F, but I guess I knew it was wrong somewhere internally. There you go. Did that download? Kelly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
If
weird.
you go,
Browser
if you
didn't
go to a
download.
different page, the learningukulele.com/redrrv.
Oh, I remember that was one of our secret areas. RRV. I went to there. It's the same page. That's funny. Yeah. Not downloaded.
Still don't work for you?
Nah, it's weird. I have to contact a developer. Oh wait, that's me. That's funny. I'll share the screen. All right. So yeah, so you slowly start to recognize intervals really quickly. You know, really everything comes off of that major scale. All right.
There you go.
That's
Oh,
what.
wait, no.
Yeah.
I could airdrop it to your computer, but you don't have the on your airdrop on your computer.
Oh. The browser though, but I could share browsers. Okay. We're at the top of the hour. Watch,
All right.
look. I don't know if this will work. Look. We'll try
We
one
can-
thing. You'll be a part of an experiment now. All right. Where's it at? Browser. Oh, that is showing up, right?
Yeah, but you can't move it, right?
Freaking.
Oh, you scroll. Okay.
I have to resize it. Oh, I have to go here. But the bigger screen, huh? I can't.
Oh,
But we just want the top melody, the first part,
there you go.
right? So starts on D, the perfect fifth, goes up to G. So that D to G is a perfect fourth. So I would write like P for perfect, capital letter, 5 for the fifth, then put an up arrow, and then write G. Then, so in my mind, maybe say arpeggio. That would be the G, B, D would be the root inversion. B, D, G would be the first inversion. And then D, G, B would be the second inversion. That's just memorizing it. Training the fingers, memorizing melodies. That's funny. That's Red River Valley. First part. Get rid of that. Boom. All right, so intervals. Distance between two notes. That's it. There is a lot of stuff on the learningukulele.com for this interval stuff. All right, that's it.
All right,
We're done. Finito.
See you Wednesday night at 7 for Funky Frets TV. Hopefully we'll have our outdoor shipment by then.